So guys, if you didn't know, Grid is being rebooted completely, and it's coming out on September 13th of this year. Yeah, actually not that far away at all. It's coming fairly soon. So very, very exciting, and I can confirm I have already played the game for roughly 30 to 40 minutes-ish. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. So I've got a very general impression on the game. I saw the game in action. Obviously, it's not done. There's still things to improve and change. There's like placeholders and stuff like that. But I played the game and I really like it. I've actually got a Grid 2 series on my channel and Grid Autosport, just to explain how much I love this franchise. It is raw, it is pure racing, and I feel like Codemasters have taken a lot of the feedback from Autosport, taken some of their strengths as well, and they're rebooting it for a brand new Grid. So it's going back to its I've already said this already, but it's rawness. Pure, raw racing. So, how's the game look? You can probably tell from the screenshots, the gameplay in the background. This game is incredible, and it runs at 60 FPS. Looks really smooth, butterly smooth, very, very good in terms of visuals. They've definitely done a decent step up, and I can imagine this looking particularly good on the Xbox One X, a crazy PC. It's going to look absolutely delightful. So a very good looking game. And now we move on to the sound. I cannot explain how crazy. I think the speakers were on like a very high volume, and the roar from this Mustang, this old Mustang, was absolutely insane. Like the sound, literally, I felt like the seat was shaking, and it was just a good sounding game. And then I went to, I think the second car was like a super modified R32, and we went through a tunnel, and my god, the sound in this game is just, it's incredible. The graphics, sound, thumbs up, very, very excited for that. Very, very, that's for me like the base, I guess, of a game, and it looks great, and sounds great. Thumbs up. So how's the gameplay? I always find driving games, racing games, particularly hard to explain how they handle and sort of how to put it across. But I'd say it's a mixture between Autosport and Grid 2. And I found every discipline was very, very different. So the first one I jumped into was an old Mustang. The back end steps out. It's heavy. It's not slow, but it just got that sort of the beefiness, the size of it just feels big and just feels heavy. And then went to an R32. It was very nimble, a little bit lighter, and it just had a little bit more control on the car. I found every car, every discipline to be very, very different. And then I switched to a GT car, a round Brands Hatch. For some reason, this track I've just never been good at. Any racing game, I just can't ever get good at it. I don't know why, it's just my weakness. And I struggled. The GT car, I was hitting the white lines, I was hitting the curbs, I was spinning out. There was a lot of power, and I found it a challenge. It was actually the car on the front cover, so the Porsche GT car was just an absolute beast. I could barely handle it. But once I got down to the last lap, I was starting to get used to it. The handling is definitely easy to jump into for most of the vehicles, I'd say, but it's very hard to master. So I was jumping into the Mustang, the R32, and I was able to drive it pretty quickly out the bat. I'd say I'm fairly competent with racing games. I'm not an expert by any stretch, but I play a lot of racing games and I sort of get it fairly quick. But for me, it was the little tiny touches in this game that really adds to the overall experience. One thing I really liked, it's very simple, but if you play a racing game, you know, most of the time you enter the event and you start 20th, or for example, this game you would start 16th. That's the most cars you can have in the game. 16 cars, you'd probably start at the back, and I'm like, okay, great. And by the time you've done like maybe several races that evening, you get a little bit bored of starting last. In this game, you can press X on the controller, on the Xbox controller, and do one hot lap. So you could start in the middle of the pack. You could still be last if you're that slow. But I'm guessing again it would change based off the difficulty you pick. Also, just the general gameplay. So let's talk about the AI. So normally in a racing game, the focus is on you only. So they sort of race around you a little bit, but not really. This time, you're just another driver in a pack of 16. So they all race each other. You'll see them crash into each other. You'll see them try and overtake each other. It's a race evolving. It's not just about you. There's no rubber banding. There's no catch up in this game. It's all about the race. And again, this game feels very, very raw, especially on the street tracks, for example, in a Mustang, in was it San Fran, I think it was, the track we've seen many, many times in Grid. They're crashing, they're rolling, they're making mistakes, they're locking up, and it's very gritty, it's very raw, and very real. And again, we talk about the AI. There's actually 400 different drivers in the game, 400 different names. So maybe in a series of races or different types of races, you may recognize a name. So Fred. I always see Fred. My nemesis Fred, which is pretty cool. And every driver will act differently. Some might be more aggressive. Some might be just so focused on getting the best lap time, they may just completely ignore you. Every driver is different. And when you hit a driver, they could potentially turn into a nemesis. So that person will get so angry that you hit into them, they may attack back. It's just so cool. It's such a cool idea, and it's called I think it's called the Nemesis system or something like that. A little bit like Shadow of Mordor or something like that. But it's absolutely crazy. The AI will also get faster because they're just like they're like raging almost, and they'll sort of speed off. And if you try to overtake, they will be a lot more aggressive, and you could potentially. They could crash into you. You could lose a wheel. You could lose a bumper. Damage on this game is, again, absolutely crazy. And it's just, that's what would happen. If someone bashed into me when I was racing, I'd be like, yo, Fred, I'm going to take you down. And it's just a really cool system. Really fun to drive. I've done it a few times just to test it out. And they get so angry. Like, really angry. It comes up with like a big, like, red skull or something. And you know, that is a nemesis. And he's going to be aggressive. So watch out. And you may see that name pop up again, and he may recognize you. Stuff like that. It's really cool to have those names in the game. It'd be quite cool, just a random suggestion. Maybe if Codemasters could let us like change the names, so I could put my friends into the game, or you guys. That could be quite cool. So have the same sort of attributes for that driver, but I can change the name. So Scott Coleman and stuff like that. That'd be really cool. Also, Fernando Alonso is an advisor on this game, so he gives a lot of feedback on how the cars handle, and I believe the World Series is back, single player, so you've got loads of different types of events, and you can actually race against Fernando Alonso. One of the best drivers out there, in my opinion. He's so good. He's recently quit F1, had a few problems with Indy 500, but he's a very, very good driver. And he's in this game giving feedback, and also you can race against him, which is pretty cool. So in the game so far, I believe we have GT, touring cars, stock, muscle, super modified vehicles, Group 7 vehicles, I think, as well, prototypes, open wheel driving. There's just so much. Also circuits, streets, ovals, hot laps, point to point, time attacks, loads of different disciplines, so much to do. When I saw the World Series, I think it was, like these basically little cubes of activities you can click on. There's so much. And eventually you want to get to the very top, which is basically the World Grid Series or something like that. So it's like the final event. And you basically get there by, you can select whatever route you want to take. You can select whatever event you want to do. It's completely up to you. Some people might want to avoid GT completely. They want to focus on tuner cars. That's completely fine. Completely up to you. I think we've pretty much covered everything. I know they're doing already DLC. I think they're doing up to 3 seasons. So lots of DLC coming. I want to see drifting. Please add drifting, because that was so good back in the original Grid games. I want to see drifting. I want to see more disciplines. I want to see more tracks. I want to see more cars. And they've already announced, like I said, 3 seasons. So Very exciting. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. There'll be a link to the gameplay in the description below. There's also a trailer out that announces the game. It's coming out this year, September 13th, 2019 on the PS4, Xbox One, PC, and they want to have 60 FPS. So, ooh, I'm excited for this game. As you can probably tell, I really enjoy playing it. There's some really very neat features that are very unique to this game, but they're very, very small, but they just make the game such a better experience. And I'm very excited to play the game. Cannot wait. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.